So my name is Jackson Wheeler. I'm a technical operator for the farm Salford, working in BBC Sport.
And I'm Josh Preston. I work as an ingest lead for the Farm Group North and on behalf of BBC Sport. So ingest lead is basically running a team of operators. So we work within close proximity to sports news. So we basically run all of the feeds that come into BBC through us. So operational day to day, it's sitting across feeds, QCing feeds, making sure that the feeds actually reach the editing system so that the editors can make their programs and their VTs for sports news and OBs that go on. So OBs like an outside broadcast, so golf, gymnastics, things like that. So basically we're just the kind of bottleneck for the system, essentially.
My role is to basically support the editors, like if they have technical issues with their computers or if they have issues with the feed going into the editing system. I would liaise with Josh and we'd kind of work out what the problem is. Day to day, I'm kind of media management of the system. So say if Josh at the weekend has multiple football games coming in, that's a lot of data, and we need to make sure that the editing system doesn't overflow. And then just general kind of inquiries, like a lot of people come into our office quite regularly just for general technical queries.
Yeah, I think like with the day-to-day sort of situation with me and Jackson, it's a really fast turnaround. So it's basically just trying to get everything in as soon as you can because people have got to make programs essentially. So you've got to work fast and get the files as quickly as possible to the editors.
So Josh kind of works at like the start of the process when the feed is first coming into the building. That's like the very first step. And then I'm kind of more on the other end of when it's ready for live broadcast and ready to go out live on air.
And then kind of my side of it would be to take in the feed that they initially broadcast to, BBC One or BBC Two, wherever it's being shown. So essentially I would get the finished product at the end with the VTs, everything like the live broadcast of the actual match and things like that. So I would ingest that, I would record it, and then it would go to archive for keeping later. Because obviously people have got to edit with it later on if they want to use it again. Then essentially they can go back into the archiving system and get what they need from that because there might have been an amazing try, or there might be a player that's retiring or things like that.
When I was about 15, 16, I had a friend in Germany who worked for a TV production company. And over the summer, I went to do it wasn't even an internship. It was just me going there and living with him and then going to work with him and kind of helping around. And I just really, really enjoyed the kind of work atmosphere and the kind of the busyness of a production set. And I kind of worked in all the aspects like production, helping the cameraman, and then all the way to post-production, then the editing guys. From that point, I kind of realized I really like media and I like technical things, but also creativity. So I did A-levels. I did media studies at A-levels, where we got to do practical things like work with cameras and editing software. From that, I went to Sheffield Hallam University and did film and media production. So in those 3 years at university, I specialized in editing. The way I managed to land the role at the farm, my editing lecturer got us a tour at Media City and to visit various people in final year of university. And through that, we met one of the heads of the farm called Charlotte. So she offered me a role, like a 6 months kind of trial basis. So in that 6 months, I was basically learning as much as I could of how all the workflows work. So yeah, that was my kind of pathway into it. I didn't seek out sport itself. It kind of found me. I just wanted to work in a post-production facility in a technical role.
I studied at Pendleton College in Salford. And there I kind of wanted to hone in on kind of like post-production stuff because I felt at first I wanted to do editing. So I did media studies and also film studies. So luckily enough, I got there was a letter that was sent out in college time, and it was basically an apprenticeship for a post-production company in Manchester called Summoners. So they were quite big back in the kind of 90s, early noise. And I thought to myself, well, I'm not going to go to university, but like this actually seems like quite a big opportunity. It was kind of an apprenticeship role with them, so you would train up with them and then possibly go on to get a job role with them. So I was like, I can't really pass up on this. So I actually went there, and it ended up to be like 300 people applied. Basically, I got picked out of those 300 people with between me and three people. So eventually I got the apprenticeship at Sumner's, and then my kind of path into it changed from there. I was working in the running room, so it was basically working in the kitchen with sections of like technical learning on the side. So it was over kind of a 2-year basis. So essentially, I would make tea for the editors and make them breakfast, and it did really help that, because I mean it got me into the place where you were talking to editors, and they would say, if you're interested in this, come and sit down. We'll show you what to do. And it was kind of a foot in the door almost to talk to people like that. And I eventually ended up with the farm. I had an interview. He said, "Yeah, I've heard about you from Sumner's. You were good. And, are you interested in sport?" I said, "No." He said, "Fine." So I was like, "You can have a job." And obviously, like Jackson said, it wasn't that I was into sport and I wanted to work there. It was purely because I wanted to work in post-production. It was a good opportunity. So in hindsight, I didn't. It was basically taking the opportunity when it arose. To actually go down and work on Wimbledon on a live OB was a massive highlight in my career. I was pretty proud of it. And getting a credit on the end of it for which played out on BBC One I was immensely proud of it. I sent it to my parents; they loved it. But it was one of those things where you get there and it's sort of you have a reality check moment because it's a bit surreal. But I think that's probably one of my highlights of my career.
So on like my kind of proudest achievement is probably working on like big events. So
the Olympics and things like
that.
that.
Like in 2018, there was a really, really busy year. It was like it was Winter Olympics and Commonwealth Games, and I think there was some football tournaments as well. Because I was still fairly new to the industry and I hadn't ever worked on these massive kind of events before. So getting to work on these massive events was just a real kind of privilege. You
have to make yourself known. That's the best kind of advice, I think. Like, people in our industry love people who love the industry, essentially. So if you've got a passion for it and it comes across, then you're remembered, essentially.
If anyone ever said they were working or they had jobs in like doing camera work, or they were doing like their own personal projects of filming and stuff, I was always like, can I help you in any kind of shape or form? Do you just want an extra pair of hands on the day so I can just kind of help you move stuff and I'll just kind of stand on the side and watch and sort of thing?
I think it's not just when you think about something you want to do, it's not necessarily the only thing to do within that industry. I think that's where you slowly start to realize it's like there's tons and tons of other avenues that are open to a production.
Like, we've been talking quite a lot about the like technical knowledge that you need to do these sorts of things, but also is also just kind of communication skills with clients and producers and
problem solve, figure out what the problem is before it becomes a bigger issue. Exactly. I think that's the thing. As soon as you get it fixed, it's not going to knock on into something bigger, which could affect like a live broadcast.
Yeah. Email writing was a skill that I definitely developed when starting my role here at the farm. When you're actually writing an email, knowing how to deliver information succinctly, politely, and for someone who hasn't got the kind of knowledge you do in a way that they can understand.
I think the only advice I can give is not to worry about it too much. If you really want to do something in the media industry, there's always a way to get in. There's multiple branching ways. If you go to university, that's fine. If you go to an apprenticeship, that's fine. If you work on the job from when you leave school, that's fine. Because I think people think that obviously there's this kind of like idea behind university being the gateway to everything, but it's not so much with the media industry. It's making those connections, doing an apprenticeship. And obviously I didn't end up where I thought it was going to be, but I really enjoy my job.
So for me, if I was to give my younger self like advice, it would be to not worry or stress about knowing exactly what you want to do, because
that is a big one, actually.
I didn't know, and I still don't, what I wanted to do and what I want to do. That sounds a bit weird because I'm in a job that I really enjoy, but there's still new opportunities and new places I could go in my current job
Yeah.
So I would reiterate that to my younger self.
It's like too narrow, isn't it? You don't want to be too narrow, I
Yeah,
think.
you don't
Like
want
you think at school you have to be narrow and like narrow it down to a certain, oh, I need to do this. But it's like,
yeah.
if you do a lot of things and then eventually.
If you narrow kind of your sight on one specific place, you then kind of block out all the other opportunities that might arise that
Yeah.
that you might actually find out that you enjoy more.